but most of them aren't leaving because of pay. Most of them say the reason why how we can be retained is pay, but they didn't leave because of pay. So that's the difference. A lot of them, and end up with a lot of Black women who come on the podcast. Most of them are experiencing racism. Some of them are experiencing toxic masculinity at the hands of their Black male colleagues. Yeah, that's been a one that comes up a lot, is that there's this like, they think that their Black male colleague is going to support them, and they end up just like diminishing their voice. Many of them, just recently, we have quite a few folks who would talk about starting charter schools and the burnout from trying to start a charter school and be all the people in the charter school and boards running out of money and money disappearing and all the things. Yeah, that's a huge one. And then obviously there's always other reasons, like people just ready to move on. But I think the biggest ones that we see is just like a lot of racism, a lot of harm from colleagues in the work. I haven't heard, at least not in recent memory, harm from students. It's a lot of it is from the colleagues and the administration diminishing their voice, making them, all these pieces, that the overwork to overcompensate is why people decide to leave.
Yeah, that all makes sense. And being in higher ed, many of those same,
Of course.
translate over to those same themes. Absolutely. So if you were to have the opportunity to speak to a school board and they asked you, Dr. Lyons, what would be your suggestions that we could implement to support and retain Black educators within our district? What would be some suggestions that you would give that school board?
Yeah. So this is a really good question. I think that I'm all about the collaborative, like working in collaboration with folks. So the first thing that I would do is I would say, I need you all find the Black folks who've left your district in the last 5 years to interview them, and then ask them. Because people can get really caught up in like, the consultant said, do this, right? But this consultant worked in Colorado, and she did not work in Tennessee. She did not work in Mississippi. She did not work in California. And so you get caught up with, you said this was going to work. No, let's pull data. You go in, eat your HR, get out the phone book, and you go and find as many Black folks as you can who have left your district in the last 5 years, and ask them, why did you leave? What do you believe that we should do to retain Black educators, and so on and so forth. And you use that data to inform what you need to do, because they live that experience every single day. I did not.
Yeah.
Right? But that takes a lot of work, because one, that means that you're going to have a lot of folks who don't even want to speak to you all, right? Or are very angry still. And so you have to contend with that. And then again, it's not the consultant that you can go back and blame that it didn't work. It's you, that the responsibility is on that district or that university, because they told you what you needed to do. And if you didn't do it, that's on you, not on the consultant. So that will be for anyone out there. Take that for free.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, because also by interviewing those people that exited, and not just trying to say, okay, Blake, you need to do these 5 things, and this will keep all your Black educators there. These are the 5 things you need to do.
Yeah. They love a checklist. Everybody loves a resource sheet. Yeah.
Oh, all that didn't work. But to get that qualitative data, those stories, that information, analyze it, because also the context, like you said, it might be Tennessee, but it might be a school district in a certain area. And then the culture within that school district, or the schools, or the people, so you're really digging down and getting some specifics.
Yeah, and I'll add one more thing. And interview their spouse or the person who's lived with them their child, if they have an older child, like a college student, about the experience. Now, that is because we don't go through anything joyous or harmful alone, most of us.
Yeah.
And so to hear, when we, and I say this all the time, when you get hired at a place, you call, you text people, you're talking to your sister, your loved one, you all those things. And when you experience harm, you also call and text. And so if you want to heal community, you have to do the work of not just talking to the Black educator, but talking to the folks around them who saw them breaking down and falling apart and were a part of that being yelled at, or the tension. How many divorces did this cause? How many families are broken up because of racial battle fatigue that person was experienced because of harm has happened in their workplace? They need to find that out too, because we don't, Black, white, or otherwise, we don't live in this world alone. Everything we do has a ripple effect.
That is brilliant. That is really brilliant. And I haven't heard that individuals talk about look at that person's community, ask them, interview
Yes,
them, get
yes,
information from those closest because they see it. I mean, I've had family members that have lived with me or talked with me or watched me go through challenges as an academic, and I know they would have a whole lot to say.
yes, yes. Because they also stay up at night thinking about that situation. They also, and that's a part of the research that I did, was it's the spillover and the crossover of the harm from the workplace to the home. That's why for me it was so important in my doctoral research to interview the family, right? Not just the individual. I needed to know. I had 10-year-olds I was interviewing. I had college students I was interviewing. I had spouses, because all of that matters. They don't just hold that. People take that home with them. Even when they think that they've processed it and they're like, I know, I feel, your family knows. They know when you're off.
Right. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And so let's take that a little bit further because it impacts the family, which then also impacts the Black community as a whole.
That's exactly
So,
right.
what are your thoughts about that?
About,
We think about, okay, oh, this poor educator, they had a hard time.
yeah,
Poor them.
yeah,
They just need to toughen up. But now we've talked about, okay, it's impacting their family, but then that also impacts the
broader
larger
community.
Black community too.
Yeah. No, 100% it does, especially because like we have folks, if you're a Black principal here in a school district and the family communities come to you, they choice into your school, they're driving there, and then you no longer are working there, that's impacting where all these folks came here for that Black educator, right? So, of course, it impacts community. It impacts folks who are wanting to be educators because they see that principal running that school. And that's the part that I think that also education systems, higher ed or otherwise, forget, is that when we disappear off the front in front of these schools and classrooms, that's you're also recruiting in the opposite direction. I call that pull out versus push out. Now it's like I don't want to be a teacher because my favorite teacher got fired. Why would I want to be an educator if my and so on and so forth. So obviously it impacts community.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does. And I think so many ways because I also was thinking too that, okay, if your 10-year-old child is watching you go through trauma as a Black educator, not only do you not want to be an educator, probably, but that is probably impacting you in school, your life, your relationship,
Exactly.
your relationship with your friends, how you're
Yes.
dealing with things. So
Yes.
it just multiplies.
It does multiply. And I think, yeah, that's the piece when, again, going back to the research component, when I talk to folks, I had a mother-daughter pair that I interviewed. And in the interview, the daughter turns to her mother. So I interview the teacher, the educator first, and then I come to a second interview for whoever they choose as the person they want to interview. And so in the middle of the mother-daughter interview, the daughter turns to her and says, Mom, I don't share what's going on with me and what's happening to me at school because we talk so much about racism that's happening at your workplace. I just don't even share anything with you because I don't want to overburden you.
Oh, yeah.